All right, so I've done this many times in the past. So we have a rubber trunk lip spoiler here. And it's very soft. You can get these on eBay and stuff like that. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna scuff our trunk lid where we're gonna stick it with 240 grit. Okay, you could go a little coarser, but I think 240s are pretty good where you want to be at as far as scuffing it, because we want to scuff it. We don't want to make it too coarse, okay, because we want this 3M two-way tape to stick really well. Okay, and if you make it too coarse, it's not going to stick that well. All right, so we're just going to basically just do the whole area where that's going to stick, and plus some, because we're going to be adding epoxy around it to molding it into the trunk lid here. And as you can see, my wife opened the trunk lid a couple times and it hit the top of the garage, and this is what happened. So she's gonna have to be extra careful. We'll make sure we'll set the stop so it stops before touching the top. And we already actually did that, but so see, something like that will just kind of feather out, because this is gonna be pretty much primed anyway. Here's another spot. Okay, all of this is going to be primed anyway. But we're going to go ahead and pretty much just like scuff the top here. And pretty much just scuff where okay, that's pretty much it. We're gonna blow it off and just wipe it down with wax and grease remover and stick our trunk clip on. All right, so I blew it off and I put some glass cleaner on here, some Sprayway, right? We're just like wiping everything clean. You can see what this looks like here, how it's all scuffed up pretty much, right? And the rest is still shiny yet. Next thing is we're gonna basically find center of trunk. Okay, put a little piece of tape or a marker here. Just mark it so we know where center is. We're gonna get center on that. We're gonna align it. And we are going to start from the middle, get that aligned, and then work our way down each side. All right, here we go. It might take a couple takes, but what I did was I cut the two-way tape down the middle, and then I just peeled both sides because we want to kind of stick it, and then toward the end, after we get that, we'll just basically peel these as we go. You know what I mean? Because it's just, sometimes it's a pain in the butt. So like I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like make sure they're out like that, but now we're gonna go ahead and just align the center where we want it. You know, how far toward the edge of the trunk we want it. You know, you could basically do whatever you want to do. So let's go ahead and align and kind of get this thing going. So check it out. Pretty easy to install if you know what you're doing. Again, it's easiest to set from the middle than go one side at a time. It came out really even across the back. You can see pretty much the same, right, all the way across. We ended here, kind of where this line is. Same thing here. And it looks good. I mean, we have some space to do a little bit of blending here. We'll beat up the back. We'll beat up the front. And this is kind of what it looks like. Pretty cool. It's gonna look good painted and one piece. I think I could have went a little bit closer to the edge, but I don't know. I think it looks good the way it is. All right, here we go. So before starting any project, you want to make sure you're using a grease remover. I'm using Simple Green here. There's other products that you can use. So we're just basically going to spray around here, the wheel well areas, and the door jambs and whatnot, and just clean the whole car up. The rocker panel area, right, all in here. We just want to get everything clean before we start sanding, because we don't want to sand any grime into the paint job, right? I did get a razor blade and kind of take off some of this glue, but we're just going to sand it off, right? Let's look at the back. See, we took all these off. Okay. We're going to sand them and then prime it. All right, so we're gonna be mixing some panel bonding adhesive by 3M. The number is 08115. If you can take a look here. You get it on eBay, you can buy it with the gun. I use this stuff a lot when working with body kits, molding, plastic panels to fiberglass, fiberglass to metal, whatever you wanna do, this stuff will do it, okay? Unfortunately, I ran out of those mixing tubes here, so I'm just gonna squirt it on a piece of cardboard, mix it up, and then we're going to be filling our gap. We're going to be molding in our rear lip our trunk lip, basically, into the trunk. And what I did was I prepped this by sanding with 150 grit all the way. You can see it. We stuck it on. We cleaned it thoroughly. We stuck it on, as you saw in the last video. Now what I just did was I scuffed up some of this rubber in here, okay, all around it, as you can see, okay, all around it with 150 grit again, and then I blew everything down and I wiped it off. So it's nice and clean now. We're ready to be epoxied. So we're gonna mix them up, and we're just gonna get a glove, put a rubber glove on, and just like goob it all in, make it all smooth as possible, and then we'll let it dry, then we'll sand it down. And that's pretty much how you wanna mold it in, okay? So let's take a better look. All right, so now I can get you a better, closer look from the back side here. You can see that we do have a little gap in here, right? And that is what we're gonna fill with our epoxy. This gap here, you can see the shadow. Okay. So we're gonna fill that gap. Not much on this side. The back as well, very little. So let's go ahead and mix this up and mold this piece on. Once it's molded, we're gonna sand it, and then we're gonna sand this fin here, right, very lightly. Then we're gonna put some 2K filler primer on it, a very thick 2K filler primer, because we wanna fill, it does have some, some ripples in it from the mold itself. So we're gonna flatten it out. We're gonna fill it up with 2K filler primer, then flatten it out. flat sand it kind of like with my palm, because it's such a nice, you know, curved angle bevel in here that you just want to hand sand it all with your palm and then get it ready for paint. So this is what it pretty much looks like after you lay it on. It gets nice and shiny. Look across the back here. I'm gonna let that set up, and we're basically just gonna sand it down. I'm gonna use like maybe a 120 grit just to shape it. You know, take all the high buildup off there. Let's see this. Lighting, but here's the back. Pretty much all filled in, and this thing is not going to go anywhere. And after this sets up, if we have a little bit more feathering to do, we can just use body filler. You know, if we want to build this up in here a little bit more, I don't think we're going to have to, but you know, very little body filler if we have to, because the epoxy is set. I mean, this is basically part of the trunk now, you know, and that's how it's gonna look. Well, actually, it's gonna look really nice painted as well. And the back's gonna look like that. So here's what I'm doing. We have 80 grit. Okay, first I tried, no, this is 120 actually. First I tried using, this is actually 80 right here, the 120 is over there. I tried using like 240, but then the epoxy is so hard, it's gonna be forever for me to shape this thing. So I've started using 80, and then I also got some 120. So this rubber here is a soft rubber, as you can see. I mean, it's not that soft, but it's flexible. And it came with like really sharp lines at the end of this thing. If we take a look here, okay, you can see how sharp this line is. Okay, and because of the body of the Tesla is so round, I'm basically gonna be shaving off and shaping and making this rounder with some 80 grit here, okay? It cuts it down really easily. So if you look at this edge, I started rounding this edge off a little bit. Okay, just lightly, just like this. Okay, now if we take a look at it, you can see it's cutting and shaping the rubber here. Okay, and once we prime all this and paint it, it's gonna look good. And I'm not gonna really worry about it cracking and whatnot. I doubt it's gonna crack. Unless you really hang on this, then it's probably gonna crack. But if it's normal use, you know, I don't think we're gonna have a problem with it, to be honest. I've done smaller trunk lips like this with no issues. This is just because it's so big, you know, it gets thin toward the back and it's a little, you know, softer. So that's basically it. So on this side here, you know, we're just gonna go like this and do the same thing. We're gonna cut that. Cut that sharpness off. See? Okay, so that's all I'm doing here, just knocking off that corner and finishing it round. So it just feels better, it looks better, it's gonna blend in better. And if we look down in here, you can see that I still have some of the high spots in epoxy here. Over here is all feathered out. Okay, so the bottom of the spoiler is all feathered out. The only thing I gotta worry about now is in here. And if we can see some low spots, right? So what I might have to end up doing is putting a little coat of body filler in here to fill that and then smoothing it out again. And then it's ready for primer. Okay, we're gonna be priming this whole bottom of the trunk lip over here as well because we took off that Tesla emblem and sanded off the glue. Okay, this we're gonna prime as well. Might even put a skin of body filler on it or feather it out a little bit better. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna continue shaping, sanding this out here. If you take a look like this. All right, so this is what it looks like when you're sanding raw plastic down. All right, I'm basically using a 320 grit and we're just wet sanding quick and I'm pretty much done. Basically, you just grab the raw plastic like that and you get every nook and cranny, pretty much. Okay, so all we did was scuff it up. Okay, it's a little rough, but the 2K filler primer is going to fill this up. But we're not going to be too much worried about it because this is the bottom of the car. All right, you're never going to see it. I think the part that we really want shiny is this part and this little lip across the back, because in here is going to be filled with our custom like carbon fiber rear winglet. I think it's even going to cover the bottom, but we're going to go ahead and just paint this thing anyway, because the main thing that's going to show is this bottom piece up in here. Okay, this little inch across the back and this piece, okay, which basically ties into our rear trim that wraps around here, and then our bottom rocker panel side skirt. Okay, so we're really only going to be exposing that little thin black piece that comes around the back here. All right, so that's what we do. So we just wet sand raw plastic, right, with 320 grit. I'm gonna wash these down, and then we're basically ready for primer. Okay, these I'm gonna fill really well because these we want to look glossy. That we want to look glossy. This area here we want to look glossy. You can see the mold when they molded this thing together, a little line here. And if you sand enough, you can sand it out. And I tried working with it, probably could do a little bit more. But then once we 2K filler prime this and sand it, you're not gonna even see that line anymore. You know, something, you know, while we're doing it, you might as well do a little, go the extra mile and then take out like mold lines like this, you know what I mean? But this is pretty much it. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is spray some Bulldog adhesion promoter on this after we clean it, and then put some 2K filler primer on it, cut that down, and then we're ready for paint. Yo, what's going on? So whenever doing body filler, right, if you had body filler sitting for a little while, you're gonna wanna make sure you mix it up before you start using it. Okay, so I just opened this can up. It's pretty good body filler. It hasn't been sitting that long. So you can see kind of like how it looks here. Okay, sometimes if it's sitting really long, you're gonna see like a watery film on top. Okay, and you don't want to pour that out and get rid of it. You just want to mix it into the body filler here. Okay, but we don't really have that. It's really good creamy Bondo here. This is a 3M platinum body filler. So I'm just gonna kind of mix it up like this. We don't need a lot, we just very little. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit on a piece of cardboard here. Okay, that's probably more than enough right there. Okay, do this. All right, hardener. Always make sure you mix it up in the tube before you just squirt it out, because again, you might have some of that liquid buildup that's just in the tip here. When you squirt it, just gets wet, right? You're not really getting that hardener in it. Let's see, a little bit kind of like wettish, but it's fine, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and mix very little bit, okay? Maybe that. And I'm gonna go ahead and just mix this up. Actually, I might be able to put a little bit more in it. Let's put a little bit more in it. And like the rule of thumb is like for every golf ball size, you want to put like, you know, 4 to 6 drops of hardener. Okay, drop wise. You don't put enough hardener, it's never gonna harden up. It's gonna cake off, and I show you this in all of my other auto body videos, my step-by-step videos in VIP. You know, we take you through multiple scenarios of mixing body filler and whatnot. And you know, the myth is like, hey, don't mix it on cardboard, you're gonna have an issue. It's not an issue, okay? Only the pansies say that. It's really not a big deal. Okay, so this is good. What I'm gonna do now is just put some on my finger here because, and I should have a glove on, but what I really wanna do here is just fill, okay. Just fill these low spots. Okay, there's just a few low spots here, and the rest will be able to sand out. Okay. Oh man, it's getting hard already. Okay, looks good. God, I put too much hardener in it. It's already setting up. So we're gonna mix one more batch to do all the little scratches and whatnot around the car. I shouldn't have put that extra in there. But there you go. That's pretty much it. So once this is set up this hard, okay, it's no good already. Okay, look at it. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry for a bit, peel this off, mix another small batch where we can get the rest of our pieces here. Okay, so here's what we're doing. Basically, the rough draft bodywork is done here on the rear spoiler. And we're gonna go ahead and prime everything up. But before we prime it, you're gonna see that, look, a lot of this is still shiny, right? There's nothing for the primer to stick to. And because, you know, we wanna cover all of this in here, right? So now what I'm gonna do is get some 500 grit on my DA. You could use any, you could go coarser if you want to, but I got some 500 grit. I'm just gonna scuff all of this up as much as I can, okay? I'm also gonna come down up in here, get all down in here, okay? Because we're gonna be priming all this, and then we're gonna also prime this here. Fill it up really well so we can just wet sand it all out, and it's gonna look really, really nice and complete. The other thing we're gonna do is prime all these little spots here. We got one right there, one right there. Not too many on the car, just those. And then we got one dent that we filled over here, and then a couple pieces on the hood. Well, only this one piece here, and then we got a few pieces here on the front bumper cover. All right, so this is how it's looking at the moment. Getting there little by little. So now, like I said, I got my DA, 500 grit. We're gonna grab that, scuff this up in here, blow it down, tack it, and mix up some primer. Shoot this car first, pull it out of the way so I don't get any overspray on it. And then we're gonna go ahead and get all these spots, not spots, parts, 2K filler prime, because we will be painting all of that gloss black. So keep watching. All right, so like I always say, you want to remove the tape and paper about 2 to 3 hours after your paint job to avoid peeling. All right, it's already starting to kind of come up in some areas, so I got to be careful. And you want to pull toward the inside. Okay, so that looks good. That looks great because all of this is going to be covered. All right, intermission time. We did 2 coats of base coat. This is what it's looking like. It's coming out really nice. If we take a look around here, very, very beautiful color. It doesn't do justice on camera. Anyway, we have a couple of little things that we need to fix up here. If we take a look here, look at that. Like my pants or something while I was spraying the hood hit it. And you can see like I pushed into the wet paint and this is what happened. So now that it's dry, I had lunch, took about 20-30 minutes off. Now I could wet sand this and then we're just gonna rebase that. So we're gonna look around the car. I have like one piece of dust in here as well that I don't like right in here. So I'm just gonna wet sand that out. Just gonna go around the car. Everything else looks pretty good. Just a couple of spots. Wet sand the dust out, right? And then we still have our base coat in our gun, and then we're just gonna dust all those areas of base coat. We're gonna look at everything, make sure it's covered evenly, make sure we have no tiger striping, make sure it looks really good. Hood actually looks really good, but I'll probably tack the hood down and then just kind of like, you know, do a big drop coat over the whole hood to make sure that, you know, all of our metallics are covered nice and evenly. All up here, everywhere. We're gonna go ahead and just make sure we lay all the base coat on nicely. And while we are, you know, wet sanding those parts out, I'm gonna get my 2 fine line tape, and I'm gonna tape up and mask up this bumper cover because we're shooting the inside portion of this black base coat. So that's gonna be working on right now.